So you're 58 years old with about $700,000 in your 401k, and it might be time to start thinking about retirement, but where do you start? In this video, we're gonna walk through this exact situation, uncovering all of the ways that you can retire now. Hey there, my name is Jacob Duke. I'm a certified financial planner and the founder of Rivertree Wealth, a financial planning firm, and my goal here is to help you retire with confidence. There are a lot of factors to consider ahead of retirement, and we help our clients all over the United States navigate these factors with stress-free, non-complicated retirement plans. The issue with most retirement planning is that most future retirees believe they need millions of dollars to have an enjoyable and safe retirement, only to find out when it's too late that they actually could have retired 5 or even 10 years earlier. Now, fortunately for you, in this video, I will make sure that you don't have to make that same mistake by walking you through a case study for Mary, who is 58 and has about $700,000 in her 401k, and I'll be showing you the exact steps that she can take to be able to retire now. So with that, let's take a look at Mary's situation and then see what she can do to improve her retirement plan. Right here, we can see that Mary has a total net worth of about $1.2 million. Now, out of that 1.2, $475,000 is in her primary home, which is paid for, and she also has $30,000 in her bank account. So what she actually has here is $642,000 in her traditional 401k, and then about $65,000 in her Roth 401k. So that's where most of her assets are, and that's how we got to that $700,000 of liquid net worth that she has to operate with for her retirement. Now, let's take a look at her overall goals and what she's trying to accomplish here. She wants to retire immediately, so she's 58 right now. She's going to be turning 59 in January of 2025, so her goal is to retire in December of 2024. Also, in retirement, she wants to spend about $3,000 per month on discretionary spending. We also have some healthcare costs that we can factor in here as well. As you can see, around $8,000 pre-Medicare per year that she could be paying for those private insurance premiums. Now, a few factors that are going to play into this are going to be whether or not she stays under the Obamacare limits for income to actually keep her premiums reduced so that she can get those additional lower premiums for herself. But then also, once she does get to Medicare age, she's probably going to opt into a Medigap or Medicare supplement policy along with Part B and Part D. And out of pocket for that is going to be additional $2,500 or perhaps even $3,000 per year. So that's also factored in on top of her $3,000 of spending. But right now she is still working, and so she's making $105,000 per year for her salary. And when she does retire and take Social Security, one of the things that she did mention to me was, Jacob, I want to take my Social Security at 62 so that I don't have to wait forever to get my benefits started. And so we're going to evaluate whether or not that is the right thing for her in just a moment. But she wants to take it at 62, but her benefit at full retirement age, which for her would be 67, is going to be $2,700. Obviously, that does not account for any COLAs, at least right now. So that's what she wants to do in regards to Social Security. She's going to be saving around 15% of her salary this year to her 401k. And in terms of her current expenses, she's spending about $4,000 per month. So all of that to say, she's single, she's got about $700,000 in her tax deferred. Let's take a look and see what her current retirement plan projections are and what we can do to improve it. So right here we can see she has a 71% probability of success when it comes to her retirement plan based on how much she wants to spend, how much she has, and then also how much her Social Security would be at 62, because that's the current plan in terms of when she would begin taking that. Now, what we want to do is we want to improve that 71% to something higher. Now, what I often say is that the percentage of success here is not something you should base your retirement decision completely on. Yes, we want that to be as high as it possibly can, but that does not mean that it should be 100% all the time. In fact, if it is 100%, I could argue that we probably need to spend a little bit more money to actually bring that percentage back. So this is what it's showing right now today, but one thing that I wanted to focus on was when she should be taking her Social Security in addition to her current investment allocations. Right now, she's sticking with a 60-40 overall portfolio because that's the standard retirement portfolio that she kind of adhered to. And so what I wanted to do is see if what happens if we make her portfolio slightly more aggressive. Does that improve her chances of success or not? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this from a 60-40 portfolio. Let's just bump this to 70% stock. and just see if that changes it a little bit there. And it does. It actually gives her a remaining amount at the end of her life, which right now we have her living to age 90. That's what the system is thinking. But we've got additional money at the end of life, and we increase those probabilities. But this gives us an additional amount of money at the end of life, potentially based on the median expected outcomes here, and it increases her probabilities of success as well by 5%. Now, what happens if we keep going? What if we go to 80% stock? I'm curious if that continues to help, or if there's ever a point where it starts hurting. Okay, so it actually goes up again to 78%. Now, what about 90%? I'm curious on that. So it goes up just a little bit more. So we could argue that 90% could be too aggressive. Now, she mentioned she wanted to be 60-40 overall because that's the standard retirement portfolio. And if I asked her, she would probably say, well, I just don't know if I can withstand a lot of the volatility. So instead of going all the way to 90% stock, what I'm gonna see is let's keep this at 80% stock for now and see if that can be something that we continue to work with here on the plan. Now, one of the big things that she mentioned was, I want to take my Social Security at 62 so I can get what I can while I can. Now, if we delay this to 67, she will obviously get a higher benefit. She'll get her $2,700 that we saw just a second ago. But I want to do a little bit of an analysis here. I wanted to see, hey, what does it look like if we take it at 62 or we take it at 67 or perhaps even 70? So right now, this is showing us that we have, if we take it at 62, there's really no change because we're doing current strategy versus current strategy, so 62 versus 62. But what happens if we add full retirement age to this and do that differently? So if she lives to age 90, she will actually end up with $245,000 more to take her benefits at 67 rather than 62. Now, you have to see here, she's giving up benefits in the first years here, obviously, because she could take it at 62, but we're gonna delay that until the blue line starts. So by giving up about 4.5 years here total, what we're gonna do is we're gonna delay the income. By doing that, you can see she actually gets a higher amount each year after she begins taking it. So that's how she can actually catch up and make more money from Social Security over the rest of her life if she lives to 90. And what we can do here is we can actually look at the overall cumulative cash flow and see what we call a break-even point. So for her break-even age is 77. So we can see right here, that's whenever that changeover happens. So we have more benefits earned until we get to 77, at which point she actually would make more money by taking it at 67 rather than 62. So they started earlier at 62 versus they start later at 67, but the 67 helps catch up faster. Now, obviously, if she passes away before 77, she would be giving up some money by taking it at 67, which is her full retirement age, rather than 62. So what we're gonna do here is I want to actually go back and I wanna see what if we change her current strategy for Social Security to a full retirement age filing time instead of 62. I want to see if that helps benefit her long term. And it actually does. It helps her increase her probability of success yet again. So just in two small changes, an allocation change, but also delaying Social Security, we've gone from 71% all the way to 84%. So that's a couple things that we're going to look at and evaluate for her. So these two things are going to be important for her to improve her longevity of her dollars throughout the rest of her life. But there's one other thing that I wanted to look at, and this has to do with spending. So from a cash flow perspective, retirement spending is often one of the hardest things to figure out. In fact, a lot of people think that they're going to spend more money every single year throughout retirement because of inflation. So we think of inflation going up, therefore we're going to need more income. But what I found as a retirement planner with clients that are in their upper 80s or even perhaps their 90s is once they're in that stage of life, they're really not spending a whole lot of money. They don't have the ability from a physical standpoint or a health standpoint to go and do like they could in their early stages of retirement at 60 and 70. So instead of actually spending more every year, I found that people spend less every year once they get kind of to that middle stage of retirement and beyond. So what we can do instead of having an inflation-adjusted retirement spending cycle, we can actually move this to the retirement spending smile, which means that we can spend more in the early stages, what we call your go-go years, spend less in the middle, and perhaps a little bit more on the back end for some healthcare concerns or costs. So what if we change this from an inflation-adjusted spending sequence to a retirement spending smile, and we refresh this yet again? What we can see is now we have achieved almost a 95% chance of success, and she's going to be dying with more money than she thought she would because of when she spends her money and how much she's spending. So she's going to spend a little bit more early on, the first 10 years or 15 years of her retirement, but she's actually going to spend less on the back half because she won't be able to go or won't be desiring to go as much and probably won't have as much energy to go. So for Mary, this means that she can probably spend more on the front end, reduce her spending over time because it likely won't be a linear increase over time due to inflation. Now, because of this increased probability of success, I want to play around with one other thing. I want to see, is there room for her to actually spend more money every single month in retirement because of some of these changes? And she can spend an additional $500 if she'd like to. Obviously, we have some wiggle room here because it brings down the probability of success, which again, don't base all of your decisions on that. So because of this, what we can see is she actually might have a range of income that she can operate within, and we can have some wiggle room. So she could take anywhere from $2,500 to meet her normal living expense needs, all the way up to $3,500 if she'd like to any given month. Now, the thing here is it doesn't have to be the same every single time. So for us, retirement planning is way less about doing the same thing repetitively and just have a set it and forget it type plan. It's really an active living thing that we have to adjust and monitor and change over time based on the current environment we find ourselves in from an inflation standpoint, from a investment market standpoint, from a personal standpoint in terms of spending, or if life has changed at all. We have to be able to adapt and change your plan over time. And so for Mary, what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, you can spend a little bit more some months or some years, and you're going to spend a little bit less other years, but that's really dependent on current market cycles and how we're doing overall in your portfolio. So because of this increase in the stock allocation by about 20% of her net worth, what we can do is we can have a more aggressive approach, which is going to give her a longer lifespan for her money, but also we're going to spend down her portfolio just a little bit more than we otherwise would by delaying her Social Security. So what's going to happen here is her Social Security is going to be more stable for her in the later years of retirement from an income standpoint. So she actually won't need as much money in her accounts because her Social Security will make up the majority of her retirement income needs on a monthly basis. Now, one other factor here that I wanted to take a look at really quickly is whether or not she should be doing Roth conversions. Now, Roth conversions are a very powerful tax planning tool for the people that actually can benefit from them. So let's see if she would benefit at all from doing Roth conversions. And my anticipation is that the answer is no, but I wanted to confirm that. So right here, we can see that she is going to have a higher tax rate this year because she is still earning an income through 2024. But after that, it goes down until it flattens out due to Social Security and distributions from her portfolio after that. Now, what you'll see is there's not a really big jump or spike here at age 75 because of her RMDs, which means that her RMDs will likely not be too large and create a tax bill or tax issue for her in the future. So let's see if a Roth conversion will be helpful. Right now, we have no Roth conversions built into this plan. Let's see if we fill up the 10% bracket, if that would be helpful. Not very much. What about the 12% bracket? Actually, it's going to hurt us. So by filling up the 12% bracket during these years, she's going to end up with less money in the future potentially. Now, what if we keep going? Is there room here? Actually, no. So no Roth conversions for her, just like I anticipated. And the reason for this is because she simply does not have enough money in her tax-deferred accounts to warrant a Roth conversion. And if we delay her Social Security, that will give her the ability to draw more from her portfolio, from her tax-deferred account, and therefore her RMDs will not be very large in the future because her balance will be a lot smaller at 75, rather than taking her Social Security benefits at 62, which would leave more money in her tax-deferred account, which that might create a problem for her in the future, which we would keep an eye on. So for Mary, a couple of things that we did here was we actually increased her stock allocation across her portfolio from 60-40 to 80-20. Yes, there is some sequence of return risk that is at play here, but we have enough money on the sidelines for her to meet her short-term income needs in the first few years of retirement. Beyond that, we want that money to be growing so she is actually beating inflation over time and growing her portfolio accordingly. But also, we are delaying her Social Security by a few years until her full retirement age so that she has a larger fixed income for the rest of her life. And finally, the retirement spending smile is going to help her actually have more money throughout the rest of her life by spending more on the front end and a little bit less on the back half of her retirement because of the general spending sequences that I see as a retirement planner. So hopefully this gives you some things to think about and how you might be able to improve your retirement plan. And now that you know exactly how an individual with $700,000 in their 401k can retire, you can apply these steps to your own plan and your own life and help you move towards a successful retirement. However, a applying these strategies in your own life will come with risks, as there are certain roadblocks and questions that will come up in your own situation that I've not been able to cover here in such a short video. So if you want to book a free consultation with me where we can begin to work together to make sure that you are on the path to a retirement of your dreams, click the link down in the description and we will talk to you soon.